welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is the ever impressive and new San Jose Quakes coach, Logan Stump.
Oh, no. I think I can do better than Matias Almeyda, and I think, Jordan, we can be less toxic if we just go out there and just give it our best Ted Lasso impression that we can give it.
You're not going to try to angle for a national team job every summer?
Actually, you know what? No, because San Jose will probably fire me. Like, given my FIFA track record, like they'll fire me within like a couple of months at least.
They'll be like, you didn't have enough shirt sales. Get out of here.
Like, dude, that's not even my problem.
First place won MLS Cup. Good job. But we really had this important board metric that you didn't pass, and you're out of here.
Could you imagine, like, I like come on the show each week and you have me on just interviewing my, like, you have my little score like posted here. It's like red 53 or something. I'm like, oh, wonderful. Matias Almeyda's must have been like double dashes. Like, we don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy how long this lasted, by the way. I saw some people saying that, like, it's not his fault. Look, it's everybody's fault, right? Like, I mean, he didn't help the cause.
No.
Every summer he's talking about leaving. His tactics weren't great. I don't care what anybody says. The man marking or whatever they were doing wasn't working. So much so that Chris Leitch actually said that you're going to see immediate changes tactically, like, as soon as possible. So keep an eye on that. But Fabian Rankel, who was on the show before, friend of the show, he writes for Tectonic Takes and Area Sportsnet, SB Nation too. I forgot he was there, but he reported that Jeffrey Carlisle and Robert Jonas and his own source says that the next head coach of the San Jose Earthquakes will be Alex Covello, with Steve Ralston and Chris Wondolowski as assistants. So we'll see how it goes. I think when you put San Jose legends like that, like Chris Wondolowski, right, and having them be part of the club, even in like this managerial role, is, I think, a pretty good idea. Steve Ralston was a assistant, former player, not for San Jose though, but he was also assistant during 2015 to 2018 and was the interim manager in 2018. So he's got some background, but he'll be an assistant. And I'm not so sure on Alex Covello now. He was a former San Jose director of methodology. Maybe that's what he was doing up until then. That was in 2017. He got hired there.
Well, their methodologies must suck.
I guess we'll see how it goes. He's got a UEFA A license, though.
I see that, though. Yeah.
He was an advisor appointed in February of this year. So he'll take over interim manager, I guess. I guess it'll be considered interim. It doesn't say, but I'm not sure.
You know who also has UEFA license, A license? Pep Guardiola, Jurgen.
Yeah, they're all coming to San Jose. He was also the San Jose 2 manager. That's what else he was doing in February. That's what it was. He's only done 3 games because they just kicked off, right? 1 point per match. So what he's at there. He was an assistant manager in 2018 as well for San Jose. 1, I guess you would say. So, look, this is a tough time for San Jose fans, I'm sure. You know, Fabian points out how he, Almeyda kind of brought notoriety, right, to San Jose. You can argue if it was good notoriety or bad notoriety, but
he brought something.
He seemed to like living there because he's a little bit more anonymous, right? And San Jose kind of wished he was more anonymous and got rid of him.
Oh, I think the San Jose fans are like turning us off right now, and they're some of our
I just
biggest
thought of
listeners.
that as I was saying it. I just thought of that as I was saying it. But I think there's conflicted energy there, right?
There
Like, I
is.
think some people are like, well, he was good for us at first. It was always, we felt like something was going our way, and then it just never progressed. In fact, well, it did progress. It got progressively worse as they went each season, to the point where this year, right, they have 3 points out of 7 games, Logan. That's a 0.43 points per game right there. Even if Covello just gets the 1 point per game he's averaging with San Jose too, that puts them up to 12th place in the West, up 2 spots. They'd surpass Vancouver and SKC. So they could be going a little better, right? That's kind of where we're at. And 1 point per game would actually be even with New England City and DC at this point. So that's kind of where we're sitting with San Jose as it currently has. 3 points in 7 games, no wins. They have not won. They've had 4 losses and 3 draws. They've scored 11 and they've given up 17, which is
Worst in the league.
The worst in the league. And that's bad, but you know that's bad because we've talked about how Miami was shipping goals, but it looks like San Jose's been the bigger culprit there. Overall thoughts on the Almeyda reign here, and do you see this new manager bounce being effective and taking place as soon as possible, which is what San Jose really needs?
102 matches with San Jose, he won 33. Yikes, that's not good. And you wonder how much of it is really like based
how many
on
draws
him.
Though, because I do want to ask, because sometimes soccer is a tough winning percentage sport compared to other ones, but go ahead.
I'll have to look up Almeyda's, but if you want to look him up and then on transfer market.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, with Almeyda, I mean, it just seemed like, and you and I texted this back and forth. You and I sent pictures back and forth of him on the bench, like screenshots. Like it was part of the routine with FS1 or ESPN or even their own station was like, you know what, their coverage. They would pan to Almeyda, and he was always sitting down, like with his arms full. He did the old Frank Lampard kind of thing, where he would just sit and just look so disgustingly at his players. It made you wonder, one, do the players actually like him? Did it start to get to a point where it was toxic within the locker room, which I think it started to. Like, I don't think they would let that out because there's so much going wrong in that sense. But you and I talked about this. I mean, you and I talked about the fact that he didn't seem interested in being there. He was linked to all these international clubs. There were multiple times where he was on radio stations where he says basically that his team sucks and there's not much that we can do with this. I mean, look what I've been given kind of thing. And I hate that. It's just so skeezy and wrong. And I can't imagine him being an international coach. Could you imagine? I mean, if you go from whoever you have in place and then throw him in charge and he just destroys you for the next couple of years, and then that ruins your World Cup chances because he's going to go to one of these South American clubs that I think have a good chance to get to the World Cup. And could you imagine if he screwed up your qualifying? We've seen what that does to a program, Jordan, here in the U.S. So, I mean, it just seems like it screams like a toxic environment. Like he builds this toxic environment. And it's not like he didn't have stand-up guys in this locker room. Now, the new manager bump, I think they do have to get some because you can't go any worse than this, right? Like you can't get any worse. So I think yes. And I think it'll be interesting to kind of see Wondolowski as an assistant too. Like I wonder how much they miss him in the locker room and bringing him back in with this new manager. I think it'll be interesting just to kind of see how far that takes them. But with Almeyda's time here, it should have happened 2 years ago. I mean, to be honest with you.
Do you know his average time spent at a club?
I think I looked this up one time. Isn't it 2 years?
Almost 2.5, 2.46. Yeah. He was here for about 3, right? So he's right on cue. And actually, this is his second longest time at a club. So in 2011 to 2012, he was River Plate manager for 44 matches. Then he was Banfield's manager from 2013 to 2015. for 47 matches. Chivas, I almost said Chivas USA. They're long gone. Chivas Guadalajara's manager from September 2015 to June 30th of 2018. That was 147 matches. Like you said, 103 matches with San Jose. All right, here we go. 33 wins. Doesn't sound too bad, but here's the kicker. 25 draws, 45 losses.
Oh.
158 goals for, 195 goals against. That is kind of the damning part of Matias Almeyda's record. I don't think MLS fits him, right? Talked about how his club's not giving him anything. And I do think the ownership needs to invest more money into this club. But we also know they have fun, exciting players. They have Jeremy Abobasi. They have Cade Cowell. They have, some of these players that we're looking at saying, hey, they got some young guys coming up. They have some exciting players, but they can't even be in a game most of the time. Like they're kind of like, they have some really bad results lately. The 4-3 to Houston, they were in the game, right? I guess they're always in it, right? But they'll either have had to lead or they'll give up a huge lead and have to try to claw their way back, and they just don't have enough to get it done. And that's kind of where we're sitting with Matias Almeyda, who, if you look at his trophy cabinet, he's a Mexican champion. He won a CONCACAF Champions League. He's won 2 Mexican Cups. But, it just wasn't a good marriage for San Jose, I don't think. Maybe this would work better if he had went somewhere like LAFC. I think he would have been given more resources. I think he probably would have been set up for better success and probably could have won some trophies. But it just didn't work that way. And I don't know where he goes next. I'm assuming he goes back to Mexico or he goes back to Argentina and he tries his luck somewhere outside of America.
You were right about their roster's impressively young and good. I mean, they've got Usini Buda, who they drafted in the super draft this year, who they think is going to be a top talent in this league. He's coming up and he's going to be 22 years old here soon. So, you've got him. You've got Tommy Thompson, who's played well. Eric Rometti, who's younger. You've got Christian. All these guys are 24, 25, 26, 27. Like, they're right in their primes or just getting to their primes. Jackson Ewell, that's been part of the problem. They've been playing him at center back. He's not a center back. We've seen that, which is kind of crazy to think that they had him playing there. George, did you know you've been skipping media availability? Like, he just won't show up. Like,
Almeyda?
Yeah, they're like press conference and he won't show up.
I didn't know that. But it doesn't sound. You know what? I think I did see Fabian did post something. I think last game, not the game that they just did.
Oh, that he didn't show up.
Yeah. Where he said he was supposed to be here, but there's nothing here, and that's just kind of what they were at right now, right? Is that he didn't want to face, I guess, the press. He didn't want to answer questions because he felt like it probably wasn't on him to answer those because he felt like he was set up terribly.
Mm-hmm.
But we're looking at the roster and we think it's okay. They got Montero from the Union.
Mm-hmm.
In the season here. They got Marcin Kowski is a pretty good goalkeeper. It hasn't been great though lately. I think that has more to do with their system. They got Grey Goose from Minnesota United, who we know Jack from Final Third really talks up. Grey Goose, he actually played pretty well in Minnesota. When you're looking at Abobasi, used to play pretty well at Portland. He got some goals recently, but when you have all these players where you're like, they were really good at their previous club, and then they're not, it's not always going to be on the front office. That some of it comes down to the coaching.
Yeah. So, they got a roster that they can build off of. They've got young, exciting players. Probably one of the best one in Cade Cowell, who's the most exciting of them all, I think. I don't know. It's crazy to me that he coached this long and was not fired.
Sam Stayskool just put out a tweet that was pretty good for his column for The Athletic. It says, a competent club would have made a decision on Almeyda this winter. Sadly, San Jose Earthquakes have not been competent in some time. Which is true in the sense of, look, they just brought in a new GM. Why are you forcing Almeyda with him? Let the GM make his call. Let's move on. Almeyda's been constantly, we talked about it with Fabian in the preview. Like,
Mhm.
surely he can't keep being here, right? Because everybody is saying how bad of a marriage it is. But, you know, they were trying to, like I said last week, they were trying to stick it out for the kids to get out of high school. And they couldn't make it that far. They got to middle school, and they're like, you know what? They're 13. The kids can handle it if we break up now.
We're just not in love anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what the press sound. That's what the press release sounded like. We're just not in love with him anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it literally is like, we like him still, but we just don't love him anymore.
Well, imagine, Logan, that if your wife was giving press conferences every time about how much she might go to some other nation to get a better guy for so long because you weren't giving her enough.
Yeah, and on radio stations going, oh, he's awful. Yeah, like, they're just awful. He's
kind of what it is like, you know? And then it gets back to the husband, and the husband's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I guess I'll still try to stick it out because she's out of my league. But
all the kids, right? All the kids.
I'll try to stick it out because she's out of my league and because we have the kids. But I don't know, man. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it, and that's where they go. So he's gone. We can move on from this, and we can finally stop talking about it. Finally. So today, last time we're talking about Almeyda, hopefully. Let's switch over to some European action, some Americans abroad. Logan, you're a Manchester City fan. Did you catch the Manchester City Liverpool FA Cup semifinal?
I did. For a little bit until it got ugly, and I turned it off because it made me sad in two ways. And many ways.
Steffen started the game.
Yeah.
Just like the last FA Cup semifinal that he blew as well. What was he doing, Logan? He gets this pass it's not a great pass from John Stones. I'll give him that much.
No.
But he's trying to beat Ederson. We just saw this last week where Ederson had it like last week against Liverpool, I think it was, had it on like the goal line and gets rid of it. And then Steffen just taking his time. And we saw this with the US team too, where he's like, they're passing it back to him and you get the whole like, oh my goodness, just get rid of it. Like, what are we doing? But we know Pep doesn't really play that way, but he's got to be better, right?
Yeah, and again, Jordan, I think a lot of it has to do with him just not playing. Like, it really comes down to that. It comes down to not being in game speed type of matches where you're getting constant pressure. And I know it wasn't a great pass, and I know the circumstances were different. And I don't really think he sees, I think it's Sadio Mane coming. I don't think he sees him coming. And so he kind of just lets off the gas a little bit, and by the time he notices he is coming, and because Sadio is kind of a blur when he runs, it's like, oh crap, he's on top of me, let me just try to do something. And instead of doing something, he freaked out and panicked, and he let the ball just sit. I mean, 9 times out of 10, Jordan, all you had to do is just kick it anywhere. Like, he could have kicked it anywhere. It would have gone somewhere and not to Sadio Mane to score. But he just lets Sadio like slide into him and put the ball into the net. It was scary, and it had flashes of like, Jordan, it really had flashes of like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like, I'm so out of it that I don't know what to do. Like, I'm just so not comfortable right now, and the decisions that I'm making. And I think a lot of it has to do with the struggles that he had against the, in the last window with the States. Like, he wasn't catching balls in the air. He was coming out on balls he shouldn't touch. He's not coming out on balls that he should go get. He's coming off the line early. Like, there's so many bad things where, you know what, Jordan, Matt Turner, he doesn't make those mistakes. He just doesn't. His biggest thing is distribution, Matt Turner. And if that's the case, then I'd much rather live with the decisions that Matt Turner makes distributing the ball, because at least he can get the ball out from underneath him, and he's a great shot stopper. Steffen's not a great shot stopper, so when his distribution is off, he's not better than Matt Turner. There's no way. Unfortunately for the U.S. men's national team, I do think Greg thinks that Zach Steffen is currently, and still is, no matter what he struggles to do, is still their number one, and I still think that's a big mistake.
Yeah, Pep came out kind of saying like, oh, he'll be fine type of thing. But it's partly, I think, because of the part of the way they play, right? Because when they play a certain way, he's probably going to get blasted if he just boots the ball, right? But also, it is the best way to kind of play out the back and all that is if you are in form. I think you could be rusty coming on and being like, okay, how long do I hold it for? And goalkeeping is one of those where training with the top doesn't really matter. Like, it can help you in training, but you got to get game time because you got to be able to read people. People in training are not going at game speed, right? Like, when they whip in practice corners and stuff, I'm sure it's not as intense as when it's during a game. And he's not getting enough of that action right now. And I think there were some stats. I tried to Google them. I couldn't find them, by the way. Some stats showing that in CONCACAF, Steffen was one of the worst goal stats-wise, shot stopping, all that kind of stuff. And Matt Turner was one of the best. We haven't really talked about that Chicago fans have talked about, and that's Gaga Slonina, right? Who is 17 years old, turning 18 this year, next month. And he's told people, I'm trying to break the record for clean sheets. Like, that's some good confidence. And I think he is probably, look, how many games have Chicago played? 7? 7? He's got 5 clean sheets.
Yeah, and he just did it against the Galaxy again this weekend.
Yeah. So he's got an 88.2 success rate on saves. His distribution is, look, this is where I'll probably get lambasted, I guess, but I don't care about distribution as a goalkeeper. I know that's the way that Greg plays. I know that's the way that Pep plays. I know it's the way that everybody plays, but it's got to be out. We've talked about it multiple times on here because that would have been a perfect time on Sunday. Got, Sadio Mane coming, or Saturday, I guess. Sadio Mane, you get rid of it. I'm not going to try to dribble or out dribble that, because it can lead to these mistakes. And I think that just also he's not a great shot stopper. Then you look at Arsenal, where Turner's heading, might not be playing. So at this point, if we have Gaga here breaking records or getting a lot of clean sheets, then I don't care if he's 18. Start him at the World Cup because I'm not comfortable with Steffen. Steffen's 27 years old. People say he's young. That's young for goalkeepers, I guess, a bit. But he's 27. He's not getting any better. He's talking about trying to get a loan, right? That's what we've heard, trying to get a loan out. But wherever he gets loaned out, he's got to make sure he's the number one. So, and even then, even when he was in MLS, his shot-stopping numbers were not as good as Matt Turner. So, I think we're over-relying too much on his distribution. Because even then, like in the U.S. games, he had some really bad passes, some really off passes that didn't really give us anything. So, I don't know. I think we're in some trouble goalkeeper wise. That's a new phenomenon, Logan. Is we went from Casey Keller to Brad Friedel to Tim Howard to really Tim Howard's the last consistent one, but we had Brad Guzan for a while, and now it's up in the air.
Yep. I mean, Gaga's an interesting shout because, again, he's 17 going on 18. But you're right. At this point, Ethan Horvath, I know, was being thrown around because of how well he played in, I think it was Gold Cup that he played in.
But he's not starting now either.
No, but that's the case with all of them. It's going to get to a point where Matt Turner's not going to be starting. I don't know if he beats Aaron Ramsdale. That'd be great if he did. But again, I'm concerned.
I think he can, but I think it's assumed that Arteta really likes Ramsdale, right?
Yeah. So that I don't know. Maybe Zach gets a loan and goes out to one of these smaller Premier League teams, or maybe when one of these guys come up from the championship that he gets a chance with one of the championship teams, and maybe that's where he kind of turns that season around. Honestly, Jordan, if I'm a U.S. men's national team fan, aren't you rooting for a move to a lower Bundesliga team or a move to a championship team or a smaller Premier? Aren't you rooting for more just game time and consistency? Because I still think, especially championship, you're going to get an onslaught of goals thrown at you. So Like they're constantly shooting in Champions League championships. So I think I think throw him in there, like throw him in championship or throw him to La Liga or one of those.
I think keepers, you don't need to be facing the best all the time. I think I think as long as you're making good saves, your instincts are what we're looking at, and you're going to make top saves against good players. You're going to make top saves against bad players if your instincts are good. But I don't know.
Another interesting U.S. men's national team note, it sounds like Matthew Hoppe is actually considering a move on a loan to Atlanta United. So that's kind of cool. I love that.
He needs to go somewhere to play. He's not playing.
Right. He's not playing over there, so come back. Play for Atlanta United. It's a good team. Play with guys up top like that.
They need guys.
Yeah, they do.
All right. Let's get in a little bit to the games here. We had Montreal. Well, first, congratulations, Seattle Sounders, on a 1-1 draw. That puts them through on a 4-2 aggregate. They're going to face Pumas on the two-legged final near the end of the month for the CONCACAF Champions League. So there we go. A little bit of a golf clap there. You probably couldn't hear it on the audio. You could probably see it on the video. But then we had Montreal face off against Vancouver 2-1. Then you had the San Jose Nashville 2-2 result. But for Montreal, Vancouver, we had Mihalovic in the first minute scoring, and assisted by Mihalovic in the 47th minute, and then then we had a Brian White goal in the 65th minute for Vancouver. But Mihalovic putting on maybe a MVP caliber season, Logan.
4 goals to assist for Jordy Mihalovic. Mihalovic also, Jordan, throwing his name in there for some U.S. men's national team consideration because there's always a midfielder hurt, so it doesn't matter like who it is. Georgie is unbelievably healthy and fit, knock on wood. But again, man, I'm telling you, I like the way that he's played. I think Greg has a couple windows here to play with, right? We got Nations League coming up where we're not playing some stiff competition. I think this is a great chance for Georgie to kind of step in. He played pretty well for the U.S. men's national team in that, I think it was the Olympic qualifying where he was playing. Played pretty well there. I love the way that he's playing with Montreal. Jordan, he's got Montreal back into the 6th spot, which is a playoff spot. And honestly, I mean, for a while there, they looked like a team that was on the verge of just not being good this year.
They had a rough start. It was like 3 games that were against tough teams, though, too. They had Orlando and somebody else right off the start.
Yep. So, I mean, getting him healthy, getting Romel Kyoto, getting him to play like that and getting Romel Kyoto healthy and playing, not getting red cards all the time. And then you got Kai Kamara, who's played pretty well since coming over. Like, I don't know. Like, you got a good run of guys. I think their defense is really good. I think they got a great goalkeeper in Breza. Like, so, yeah. I mean, I'm loving the way that this team is trending right now.
Yeah, trending is the right word. Word trending was San Jose. We already talked about them, but a 2-2 result against Nashville. And guess what, Logan? 2 goal scorers in this game and 4 goals. That's right. Hani Mukhtar scored twice in the 38th and 63rd minute, and Abobasi in the 52nd and 72nd minute. So again, Nashville's been on the road to start the season so far. They had some good results in a row here, but they're up to 8th place, or down to 8th place, I guess, in 11 points out of 7 games. All of them away from home. 3 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses. So not bad for Nashville. San Jose moved from 2 points to 3 points. We already talked enough about them. But anything about Nashville before we move on?
Good to see Hani Mukhtar on the score sheet. Like you and I have talked about for weeks and weeks, and they need a goal scorer. I don't know where they find one, but if they're going to find it, and anybody, it's going to be Hani Mukhtar, and to grab 2 here. Really important going forward for Nashville, just because their goals, while they never really give up goals, they also don't ever really score a ton. So this is good to see, but I'm still kind of concerned that they're one of the best teams in the West right now, but still kind of concerned about the issues, or not one of the best teams in the West, but like a team that we consider being one of the best teams in the West coming, November, whenever it is that the playoffs are starting this year. But again, I think one of the best teams in the West, and I think if you get Hani Mukhtar playing at MVP level, this turns into a top 3 team, right? Like I think that's where we kind of see them. So
yeah, I agree. All right. Then we had a 3 straight 0-0 results: Atlanta, Cincinnati,
Ooh.
Houston, Portland, Red Bulls, Dallas. So not much to talk about there. We'll move
Brad
on.
Guzan. Brad Guzan.
Oh yeah, he left injured, right?
Yeah, tore an Achilles. I don't know if that's actually been confirmed. I haven't seen any news on that today, but usually MLS is not very clear on that crap. So I'm guessing that's still the case. But it did sound like it was really bad. So
non-contact, yeah, it didn't look good.
You feel bad for him because, I mean, what is he, 38? Right?
Ooh, I don't even know if he's that old.
Is he not that old?
Maybe. I don't know. I lose track of this stuff. He's 37.
So 37.
So you're close.
Close. I mean, I hate to say this, but like that could be the guy's career.
Maybe.
Which is sad because, I mean, I love Brad. Orlando fans don't like Brad, but Brad likes Brad. And Atlanta likes Brad. U.S. men's national team fans have some kind of soft spot for him, I guess. It's just too bad. You hate to see a guy.
He was good for a bit. He's just totally lost it at this point. So even if he could make it back, it might be time to just hang it up and not have to worry about any future injuries.
Alec Kahn was the goalkeeper for Cincinnati in that game. He's a former, and he was playing pretty well. So that had to be tough to watch. But again, I don't know, Jordan. I mean, this Atlanta team we're still kind of out on, right? I mean, it seems they've just got injury after injury after injury. They're sitting 4th, but man, they're just, if I'm putting them in tiers, they're definitely not getting in tier 1 of an Eastern Conference. Like they're definitely like a tier 2 team at this point.
I think they'll drop back down, but I don't know. I mean, it depends. If they get hoppy, I mean, maybe they can.
They can get hoppy. They can get sad. I mean, I don't know. It really depends. But yeah, the other 2 games were eh.
Let's get to your team.
Hey,
we got a Schlegel bagel.
We do.
Got a Schlegel bagel. Orlando gave up 0 goals, but then Schlegel also scores a bagel into his own net. 37th minute, not into his own net, against the other team's net. 37th minute, Schlegel scores his first MLS goal, by the way. And then Erkan Kara gets a goal as well in the 51st minute, and they beat the Crew 2-0. That second goal was the very beautiful one, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's like a pinball machine watching it bounce around in there. What'd you call it? You called it ticky-tacky, right?
I don't think I called it anything.
I don't remember what you called it. Yeah, you called it something. Either when I was texting you or you were tweeting. I don't remember. But yeah. Oh, Facundo Torres had 2 assists. He made MLS Team of the Week. Facundo looking like he's going to be that DP that we always needed. And Erkan Kara, or Erchan as they call him, playing extremely well so far coming over for Orlando City. So, I mean, man, I'm loving where Orlando is currently. And at this spot, the Union dropped some points. So we were able to kind of gain some ground and some points that we had dropped earlier, which is always a good sign. When we lost that game to LAFC, it didn't look so good to the end of the season. Patos looked great when he's played. And I do like where we are, except, I've always got that thing in the back of my head where that defense is going to be concerned. But so far, so good with the Schlegel. He was cool at that. I don't know if you saw that, Jordan, but on his shirt, he had his dad who passed from COVID on his shirt, which was wild. Like, this was the game that he chose to wear it. And yeah, he had his dad's picture on it and scored. So pretty cool moment.
That is interesting. It's like, how do you know that to wear it that
right?
Day? You're like just hoping. He's probably wearing it every day. Like, God, I hope I score a goal.
Right? Please. Jordan, I do want to ask you, like, are you concerned as a Crew fan? That's 3 losses straight.
Well, I'm not a Crew fan, so I'm not concerned.
But
if I was a Crew fan,
Jordan, would
I be concerned?
Columbus Crew. We're gonna do what the John Boy and them do when they always say that Jake, they're your Crew fan. Like, they're your Crew team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
my
a
crew.
secret Crew fan. No, well, yes, I would be concerned if I am a Crew fan, but I'm not a Crew fan, so I'm not concerned.
No
But
goals
yes,
in the last 3.
I got a 1 goal differential right now, 10 goals, 9 given up. They haven't been great. I mean, at home they've had at least 2 wins and what? 2 draws.
They lost 2 at home. Your guys' game was at home against Philly, right?
It was in Philly, yeah.
Yeah. So they've lost 2 straight at home as well.
Well, no, I don't think they've lost at home. Was this game at home?
Yeah, this game was at home.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how they have. MLS has what? Win, loss, draw instead of win, draw, loss, I guess, right?
I'm guessing. Okay, yeah, because I'm looking at FBref and I can click, like I can just hover over the boxes and it tells me.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at their home and away form, and that's confusing me. But yeah, not great. Not great. I mean, they're only 2 points from bottom. I mean, amazingly, we'll talk about DC United later, but DC United going all the way to the bottom of the East.
Yep.
Out of nowhere. Let's talk New England, Charlotte, Buxa and Polster scoring in the 8th and 72nd minute, and Ortiz scoring for Charlotte in the 85th. So Charlotte actually outpossessed them, but we're outshot.
I mean, if you look back at the game, like besides the, I don't know, like the shots on goal were favored Charlotte too. Like I thought they looked more threatening. I don't know. Like the Revs coming off 4th straight, like this wasn't like decisive. Like it was like, oh yeah, this is the win we needed. This was more of like, oh, we shook one out and got a win there late. So
still a negative goal differential.
Yeah.
-3. 2 wins, 2 losses at home, 2 losses on the road on a draw.
I mean, Books is back, so that's been good, I guess. Like he's got 5 matches now under his belt, and he scored finally. So
they're 1 point from the bottom, but they're 3 points from a playoff spot. The East is tight right now. It's going to be pretty wild season, I think. So they're still in it, right? I mean, that's the thing. They got the 3 points. They're still within the hunt, or else they would actually be bottom below DC United. So they needed the win.
If they're in the West Conference, they would be also in 11th.
So there you go.
Interesting factoid.
All right, TFC beat Union. This ends the Union's unbeaten streak. Union took the lead in the 34th minute through Carranza, and then Jimenez in the 39th minute, and Pozuelo, if I can talk, in the 51st. He did a nice little dribble throughout the box to be able to score. Union also had another goal that was called offsides. The guy never actually touched it, but they're saying he blocked the vision of the ball, which I could see, I guess. But the main thing was that there was actually a pretty rough tackle on Kai Wagner that should have been a red card. I mean, should have. His cleat is up this much going into the knee of Kai Wagner, and they don't even review it. And that is what I find amazing. If they had reviewed it and came back and said yellow, I'd be like, well, whatever. At least they reviewed it.
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't even review it means that they thought, because I saw it right away on the replay with how high the studs were. I said, that's got to be a red. And I see people that are not just Union fans saying that too. So I know I'm not being biased here. But that hurt them. I think at that point they were up 1-0 or it was 0-0. And, if that game goes down to 10 for TFC, it's going to be a tougher time for them to win the game. So there you go. That's, I guess, the home field advantage of having the calls go your way for TFC. But I saw that the MLS power rankings already dropped the Union from first place. What is that about?
Jordan, when you don't talk about them enough, you probably think that they're the worst team. They're like, oh man, they must have just been lucky when you don't look over their direction.
Same amount of game, same exact record as LAFC, same home record and everything, LAFC just has a better goal differential. I mean, I don't understand like how you can be the last undefeated team and as soon as you lose, sorry, you were in first place for a week.
And they played the second hottest team in the Eastern Conference in Toronto. Only they and Montreal have 10 points in their last 12 games. So, like, yeah, I didn't see those power rankings. Is that true? Is that, like, how far did they put them?
I don't know. I got a notification before we jumped on here that said Union's time at the top short-lived.
I mean, ESPN's are out. I don't know.
So maybe it's ESPN's. I don't know.
Is this week 6?
I don't know. When is this?
No, sorry. That would have been next week. No, I don't see MLS's yet. ESPN's, yes, did drop them.
There you go. So it must have been ESPN.
Yeah, so it was ESPN's. Yeah, that's the title of their article. LAFC is currently sitting at the top of their power rankings, which doesn't add up. Because LAFC won.
I guess. And their goal differential is better. I guess whatever. But to go from the last team that was undefeated to immediately dropping out of the first place of the power ranking is pretty crazy. Power rankings suck. We stopped doing the power ranking show on here because it was too much.
Yeah.
It sucked. You're like living too much in the moment at that time. You don't know, like, just look at the standings. There's your power rankings. DC United hosted Austin FC. Ola Kamara is going to score 2 goals in the first half, 26th and 40th minute. He's going to get a second yellow card in the 45th plus 7. Then Austin is going to score 3 goals in the 80-plus minute. Hosen scoring in the 80th, Jerussi in the 85th, and Gabrielson in the 90th to give Austin a road victory. If people didn't see this game, my dad had a tough time with it. My dad knew it was coming. And it's because Kamara scores his first goal, takes off his shirt, and then is going to get a second yellow because that's always an automatic yellow. It's going to get a second yellow later on. That's stupid.
Yeah.
One, let's stop taking our shirt off for goal celebrations, especially when the goal is within the first 26 minutes. Even the first half. The only time it's really acceptable is like 80-plus minute. You're scoring a game winner or a game equalizer that you're like, yeah, I'm celebrating. Like, that's fine because you're also probably going to be able to last another 10 minutes without getting a second yellow card. But when it comes to, scoring in the first 26 minutes, taking off your shirt, and then having to know that the rest of the game you have to be on eggshells, sucks.
Yeah.
And also at that point, it's only 26 minutes in. Anything can happen. Like, for me, the shirt celebration thing is like last gaps goal, Newcastle scoring against Leicester in the 95th minute. That's the type of thing where you're like, yeah, not 26 minute. And then getting a red card for it and then letting the other team back into the game. So, I don't know. We thought Losada was doing well last year. They started off okay this year, but now they're all the way back in the bottom. What do you think of DC United?
Yeah, I mean, just throw up our predictions. You and I didn't think they were going to be this bad, right? I mean, I got them 10th, you got them 9th. We thought, the Hernan Losada effect was going to be good in its sophomore season, and it started out that way. I thought we were kind of consistent with what was going on. But now, I mean, if you look at it, Ola Kamara's got 4 goals. Jordan, behind that is Michael Estrada, 2. I think we knew this going in. You and I talked about this. They lost Paul Arriola, and you lose a guy like that, and it's like, okay, you lose Paul Arriola, who's been a staple in this attack, and if Ola Kamara regresses any, this team could be why we have them 9th and 10th, right? It's why we thought that they could miss the playoffs.
Could be too why they were looking to shop them, right? I mean,
yeah, maybe
there's a whole bunch when you get a yellow card in the 27th minute.
Yeah,
and you're going to get a second yellow.
That, and I think also maybe, Jordan, why DC United took as much money as they did from the Polariola deal. Like maybe they think, let's reinvest this thing because it's maybe a little, maybe the underlying numbers had it to like, we played a lot better than what we maybe expect to play this year. And like right now, I mean, it kind of looks that way. Their defense has been really solid though, like 8 goals given up. I mean, that's pretty good in the league. That's up there with some of the top defenses. So it's like, you know, at least they're doing something right. Hernan Losada at least has that organization. So I think that might tell you a little bit of how this team's structured. They just don't score enough goals. And that's not an Hernan Losada thing, I don't think. I think that's more of just the personnel he has. He doesn't really have goal scorers. So maybe that's.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to say, let's talk Austin. Yeah, they come back from 2-0 down. We had them 13th place. They're sitting second right now, Logan, in the West. Yeah. This is longer, I think, than they were doing well last year. Really turned it around. All the woof out people are looking a little silly right now. They got 14 points in 7 games. That's averaging 2 points per game. They've scored 17 and given up 7. That's tied with the same amount of goals for and goals against and goal differential with the top team, LAFC.
Yeah, I mean, Cecilio Dominguez thing still up in the air. Don't know what's going on with that. That's still pretty big, I think. Sebastian Giroussi, though, Jordan, has been absolutely phenomenal. He's got 5 goals, so he's tied with the Golden Boot leaders. There's a bunch of guys sitting at 5. Jordan, if you look at the list, did you see the list? It's a bunch of American young kids, and like it's Chicharito, who's a Mexican, and then you've got I think Giroussi, and it's all like Latin American and American
Vasquez.
players.
So Brandon Vasquez is up there, right?
Brandon Vasquez, Jeremy Abobasi, I want to say Jesus Ferreira.
Yes.
So you've got a bunch of the American kids absolutely lightening it up over here. But Sebastian Giroussi, 5 goals. Irui's got 2 goals. Cecilio Dominguez is a big miss, though, Jordan. I mean, that's where I'm concerned. Like, I don't think they're a top 4 team. They're not a home playoff team without Cecilio. I'm calling that. But I do think, like you said, this is a totally different team, and this is probably why Austin was excited about getting a team. Jordan, I think they've finally arrived, and I think they become a force in the West, which, you know, I think the West is missing some of those because I don't think the Rapids are as good. I don't think RSL is as good. So I think you're seeing a Austin team take advantage. Jordan, it's funny. Austin, FC Dallas, and Houston are all in the playoff hunt, and I have them 12, 13, and 14 in my predictions. So that's fun. That's fun. I'm happy for them, though, aren't you? Like, aren't you happy to see them playing well?
Yeah. You know, I'm sure after a long day filming movies and everything, Matthew McConaughey comes home. He looks at the standings. He says, well, all right. Second place. It's pretty good. But yeah, it is good. And when we look at the standings too, I'd seen the stat. We've talked about it last week too, how a lot of these teams that were out of the playoffs last year are in the hunt right now. LAFC missed the playoffs last year. They're first place. Austin missed the playoffs. They're second. LA Galaxy missed the playoffs. They're third place with 13 points. Dallas missed the playoffs, right? 12 points. Fourth place. Houston missed the playoffs. Fifth place, 12 points. And then RSL and Minnesota made the playoffs, and they're in 7th. Like, that's pretty nuts. Also, Max Urruti has been really good for Austin this year, too. And it just seems like Thomas Pochettino is really just kind of taking up a spot that wasn't great. Didn't really work with Wolf's system, and since then they've been able to kind of blossom without Pochettino.
Yeah.
Unlike Tottenham Hotspur without Pochettino. All right, let's go get Minnesota, Colorado. Talking about the final third once again. Jack was at this game, by the way. Debasi scoring in the 42nd minute. Rubio tying it up in the 45th. Then Robin Lod in the 77th and Don Lottie in the 79th. Give Minnesota a much-needed victory. Like I said, that puts them into 7th place. They were outside of the playoffs last time. I think Nashville was in a playoff spot last time.
I believe.
Because it was like every team except for one that made the playoffs, you know, was in the spot. And like Nashville and all the teams that had missed the playoffs were in the playoff spots. So good for Minnesota. Possession equaled pretty even. Shots were actually pretty even, with Rapids having more shots and more shots on goal. But Minnesota get what they need at home. 3 points. Rapids, by the way, they're the Western champions, sit 10th with 8 points. Not good. -2 goal differential. Anything to add to those teams?
I pump the brakes, Minnesota. I mean, I know there's a lot of teams that are outside looking in the playoffs that we expect to be in the playoffs. Unfortunately, like right now, if I'm picking out these teams, I do think Minnesota's the weaker one out, because I think if you look at their goal differential, Jordan, they've scored only 8 goals. And the reason why they have been so good is their defense has been stout. So that's where I'm still kind of concerned. They got 3 goals in this game, so that helped. If not, it'd have been 5 and 6. Like, I mean, yikes. Like, it's not like it's a well-oiled machine. Like, I think if you look at the numbers, like in the last 5 games, they've had 3 wins and 2 losses, and you're like, oh, that's pretty solid. But if you really do look down deep, it's 1 win, or it's 1 goal against the Red Bull on March 13th, 1 goal win against San Jose on the 19th. They then only score 1 goal against Seattle, don't score against Austin last week, and then have this kind of breakout. But I don't think they're not. I don't know. They're kind of like a 6 and 7 playoff team right now. And that's kind of the way that they've been falling into that place. So
let's talk disappointment. Seattle loses to Miami 1-0 Lumen Field with a Robinson goal in the 41st minute. Seattle dominate possession, dominated shots 20-9, couldn't get it going. But I pitched this to you, Logan. If they become the first MLS team to win CONCACAF Champions League and miss the playoffs, is it worth it?
Absolutely.
Yes, it definitely is.
Absolutely.
Definitely is.
Yeah,
probably the easiest question.
Yeah, miss the playoffs. Play. I mean, look.
Rest up. Rest up your guys. They're going to be going to the World Cup, so miss the playoffs, right?
So you're going to play. All right, look at. Just picture this, Jordan. Flash forward here, right? When does this take place? Summer, August, something like that. September.
What the final?
No, the Club World Cup.
Oh, Club World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's right after the World Cup.
Okay, so anyway, picture this, Jordan. Seattle playing against Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, or
it won't be Real Madrid, right? They're knocked. Oh no, they're still.
No, Real's with City. Benfica. Yeah. No, Benfica got knocked out. Who's with Liverpool?
It's another Spanish team, Villarreal.
Thank you. There you go. Imagine, like, it'll probably be Liverpool. It'll probably be Liverpool, City, or Real. So like. Could you imagine playing one of those big 3, like Seattle running out against Real Madrid or Manchester City with Erling Haaland at the tote, right? Or Liverpool and Sadio Mane and Jurgen Klopp as Jurgen's getting ready to prepare himself for another U.S. men's national team run as he's coaching the U.S. men's national team, right? So one could dream. But again, like, I just picture this. Like, I just picture, like, Nico Ladero and them running it out there against freaking, like, Sadio Mane, Mo Salah against Liverpool and Dubai or wherever they're playing it. So that'd be sweet.
So Pumas host the game at 10:30 on the 27th of April. That's a Wednesday against the Sounders. And then Sounders host on Wednesday, May 4th at 10 o'clock against Pumas. So
I've watched Pumas play, Jordan, and they're beatable. Like, they're the team
they're not
we
as good
wanted.
as Cruz Azul.
Yeah,
so I'll
they're
take
the team
it.
we wanted. Yeah. So again, and Pumas has struggled some lately. So it's
year.
Yeah.
Could this be the year, or will we end up?
It's over. We are screwed.
It's always trying to find a way to use that throughout
every
the episode.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Well, a team that is not screwed, I guess, is Miami. They got the points, right? Mm-hmm. They got 3 points. They get out of. They're in 13th. DC falls underneath of them, but they still have a -8 goal differential. It's pretty brutal there, but good win for Miami. It was actually their first win in the Pacific time zone, I think they said, by the way.
Wow. Was it really?
Yeah.
Huh.
They hadn't played a lot there because of COVID and stuff.
Yeah.
They had the regional seasons, but I think they had like 3 or 4 games. NYCFC crushed RSL, by the way. Castellanos gets 4 goals in the 9th, the 40th, the 57th, and the 80th. 2 of those were penalties. Thiago Andrade in the 15th and 55th minute. RSL was doing a little bit of trolling before the game. Zooming in on the MLS Cup banner, saying, I found it, right? And then, this is a baseball stadium, blah, blah, blah. When they scored their 6th goal, they tweeted out, it's definitely the baseball stadium. And I thought that was funny, but I'm sure the fans of RSL were not laughing at this. NYCFC fans, though, finally got some results out of their team and scoring some goals. That was only their 2nd win of the season, both of those coming at home. So maybe it is the baseball effect. Yeah, I mean, I guess at least a Yankee-owned team won this weekend, I guess.
Erling Haaland.
Yes, is he going to NYCFC?
He is, yeah. Tatianos. I'm going to call him Tatianos from now on. Tatianos has not been great. Jordan, did you know that this is Tati's first game in which he scored, and he scored 4 gols? That's fascinating.
Yeah, he hadn't scored. He scored some Champions League goals, I know.
He's like, I need to get back in there in that Golden Boot race. Let me just grab 4.
Yeah, it is. They actually put on a pretty good fight against Seattle, too, for the second leg.
They've looked a lot better. Yeah, they looked a lot better in the last couple of weeks, which now that they're out of CONCACAF Champions League, I think, it's trouble for the East. Like, this is still a really freaking good team. They just need to get their center back pairing fixed.
Last game of the week, LAFC beat SKC at Bank of California Stadium. Arango in the 44th minute. Tajuri Shradi with an amazing goal, by the way, in the 70th. Cifuentes in the 78th minute. And Palacios had an own goal in the 38th minute. So SKC actually had a lead here. They're going to blow it. They're in a rough spot. I guess everybody saw this coming but us. Everybody had them pretty low for the season, and we're like stupidly putting them 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, but don't doubt
12.
Peter Vermees, right?
I can't doubt him. No, I've seen it before. I've doubted him before, and he's shown me up. Maybe I'm too biased in that sense. That maybe I'm like, they're always good. They're going to always be good, and it backfired on me.
One of the biggest problems, obviously the goals allowed is a problem, but one of the biggest problems they're having is just not getting goals. And Alan Polito not being there, Daniel Shallowy not playing like he did last year, and Johnny Russell not, he's up to an age. You and I talked about this. They needed Daniel Shallowy and Johnny Russell to play as well as they did last year for them to be a top team in the West. We weren't thinking it would be like one of the worst teams in the league right now. So, I mean, that's kind of the issues that they've been having. But again, Jordan, we say it and we'll say it again. Do not doubt Peter Vermees. Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm not convinced that they end up outside of this really, kind of tough division in the West, I guess. I don't know.
Well, there it is. Those are the games that took place over the weekend. But let's go ahead and take a look at what is to come this week.
It's time for the Match of the Week preview.
All right. Match of the Week preview. We got some U.S. Open Cup games taking place on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday at 7 o'clock, Cincinnati versus Pittsburgh. I'm going to be rooting for Cincinnati here, I guess, because Pittsburgh knocked out my Bobcats. So I'm going to have to go with Cincy here. 7 o'clock, Flower City versus DC United. So that's pretty fun. Miami FC versus Miami at 7 o'clock. Detroit is at 7:30 against Columbus. That sounds like a fun one. 8 o'clock, Chicago versus Omaha. Chicago Fire, by the way. All right, Dallas, FC Dallas versus Tulsa at 8:30. Houston versus the Rio Grande Valley Toros at 8:30. LA Galaxy versus Landon Donovan San Diego Loyal at 10:30. That sounds fun. San Jose at 10:30 against Bay Cities. Then on Wednesday on 4:20, you have Rochester, New York FC versus FC Motown. Greenville versus Charlotte at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, Hartford Athletic versus New York Red Bull. Forward Madison versus Minnesota, the Battle of the Birds. There you go, because Madison uses the flamingo. So you got like the flamingo versus the loon.
Are you sure it's not called the Minnesota Milwaukee rivalry or something stupid like Fox Sports would say?
No, it's called Battle of the Birds.
Dang.
Orlando City versus Tampa Bay Rowdies. Now that's Battle of the Bay. Isn't that what they call it over there?
I have no idea what they call that. It sounds stupid though.
Battle of the theme parks.
Yeah.
Atlanta versus Chattanooga at 7:30. Louisville versus St. Louis City 2 at 7:30. San Antonio versus Austin at 9. RSL versus Northern Colorado at 9:30. And LAFC versus Orange County at 10:30. A lot of those should be on ESPN Plus or the YouTube channels. Check those out. Saturday, we have got Dallas versus Houston at 3 o'clock. That's the Univision TUDN Twitter game. Philly versus Montreal at 3 o'clock as well. If you don't want to watch on Twitter or Univision, you can watch Philadelphia versus Montreal on ESPN Plus. Minnesota versus Chicago at 5 on Big ESPN. That's a weird matchup to put on ESPN. That's good. I like when we get weird ones. DC versus New England Revs at 7:30. Austin versus Vancouver at 8:30. SKC versus Columbus at 8:30. Colorado versus Charlotte at 9. Portland and RSL at 10. San Jose, Seattle at 10. 10:30 is LA Galaxy versus Nashville. That should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, we got Miami versus Atlanta at 1 o'clock. That's on ESPN. Orlando, New York Red Bull at 3:30 on ESPN. Cincinnati versus LAFC at 5 o'clock on FS1. And then NYCFC versus Toronto at 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Guess where they're playing, Logan?
Who? NYCFC?
Yeah.
Red Bull.
No.
Where?
Citi Field.
Are they freaking serious? Is that like a promotional thing? Is that like, look where we get to play?
No, it was one of those where, oops, we play in a baseball stadium and we can't book Red Bull Arena and we also can't book Yankee Stadium, so we're going to have to play at Citi Field. So.
That's so embarrassing.
It is. But you know what? They can say that they're playing in the home of the leaders of the NL East.
There you go.
The only team above 500 in the NL East.
I can't wait for Max Scherzer to throw a no-hitter against Toronto. That'll be fun.
Toronto's really confused. They're like, wait a minute, were we supposed to bring the Blue Jays here? I'm really lost right now. Up there with Mike going to hit home runs with his foot.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. I would love to see soccer players play kickball. I want to see how that goes.
That'd be fun, yeah.
Like baseball pitchers are the ones pitching the kickball, and soccer are the ones in kicking. That could be fun.
That would be fun.
Well, once we're famous, we can like maybe put that together for something.
Yeah. For Stateside. Jordan, which game are you looking forward to? What's your game? I want to do. You go first this time. What is your?
Oh, why did I not expect this question?
I know, right? Because I must be selfish.
What am I looking forward to? I think I'm gonna go with the LA Galaxy Nashville. I'm gonna be boring and probably say that one.
Okay. I mean, I'm not homing it here, but I think the Orlando City game and Red Bull game has a chance to be really good. That's two pretty strong defenses going at one another, second and third in the East, so that'll be a lot of fun. It'll be fun going to, Red Bull coming here. Why is Red Bull Stadium then not available if it's in Exploria?
I don't know. But I remember they announced this at the beginning of the year that they were going to have to play.
There might be renovations or something
at Citi Field or something.
Maybe they just didn't want NYCFC taking.
It might be that.
like get away from my stadium.
Well, Red Bull, are they hosting?
No,
they're not even hosting the. Yeah. No, they're not even hosting the Hartford game.
That's weird.
For a U.S. Open Cup. So yeah, I thought maybe there'd be like, well, if there's a days in between, maybe they didn't want them there. But they're also on the road. They're also on the road at Soldier Field.
You know what it is? The Mets are playing there.
The Mets are playing at Red Bull Arena. Okay.
That was my joke. You get another joke. You get another joke.
That's a good note to go out on. Okay, so that is our show for the week. I guess, did we forget anything? I don't think so.
No, I think we caught everything.
No, I think we touched on everything. I think this was probably the smoothest show we've had so far. That's saying something.
Yeah. Especially because I don't even know what this league is. What league is this?
Major League Baseball.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We were just talking
Mets. Confused. We were talking Mets.
City Field.
People are listening to us going,
Yankee
people they probably skipped ahead and they're like, Mets? Like, is it what kind of crap? They're going to write in the reviews. They talk about the Mets too much.
Yeah.
I'm a Phillies fan.
Hey! I would love to see Buck Showalter coach some of these MLS teams.
Yeah. If only we had a podcast that covered baseball.
If only. Extra Innings Baseball Show. Check that out.
Who does that show? That's cool.
If you're on the video feed, you just saw that changeover. You can follow that show here, Extra Innings Baseball Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So Logan and I do that show. We talk some base. It's been a fun week. Got to talk about Sean Murphy's buns. We got to talk about a lot of fun stuff. So if you want to check that out, you can check it out there. I'll put it in the show notes, I guess, since we talked so much City Field Mets on this one, even though that's not either of our teams. But you can check that out. You can check out Logan and I just talked about Moon Knight episode 2. I just talked with Jack from the Final Third for Moon Knight episode 3. So if you'd like to do that, that's the Infinity Saga and Beyond Marvel podcast we have on Logjam Media. So you can check that out too. Thor trailer just came out, so I'll probably have a reaction to that sometime in the next couple days. But yeah, so that about wraps us up. If you want to follow this show, though, which maybe you do, it's on Twitter at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or Instagram at Stateside Show. Or you can even email us and let us know how awful we are at statesideshow@gmail.com. You can also leave us a review on iTunes. We might be doing some giveaways soon. Maybe. Keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, that is about it. I just messed that up. That's about all, I guess. I don't know. But you can follow us at those places. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time talking about the U.S. Open Cup and some of that weekend MLS action. And until then, we'll see you later. I need a closing. I need to find a closing.
Yeah.